Fields will head in. Touchdown, Baylor!
Our Sugar Bowl coverage is brought to you by Ideal MRI, Edward Jones Investments agents Ben Erlinson, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The Willis Law Firm. American Bank. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Genco Federal Credit Union. Camille Johnson Realtors. Automatic Chef Canteen. BetUS.com. Coach's XXX Smoke Barbecue. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. Allen Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
As we come back, Alabama's Ja'Cory Brooks just caught a 44-yard touchdown for Bryce Young, 16-3. Alabama has the extra point to come. Good afternoon. We're live in New Orleans at the Media Hotel and Marriott in the Arts District on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and joined now by Neil McCready, RebelGrove.com, covers Ole Miss, and we've had Neil on before throughout this season in which they're trying to break a threshold. Baylor tried to win 12 games for the first time, and Ole Miss 11 for the first time. And Neil, thanks for your time. It seems like we're going to get to this game in a couple of weeks if you just never know. In the end, how does Ole Miss win? Is it the tempo, the offense? Is that the key for them tomorrow night?
Yeah, I thought Dave Aranda sort of nailed it earlier in the week when he talked about how important red zone opportunities were going to be. I think realistically, both teams are going to move the football. They have all season. They probably will again tomorrow night. And it's going to come down to who can cash in the end zone and who has to settle for field goals. And then, look, a big part of what Baylor has done this season, Jeff Levy talked about it yesterday, was Baylor has created a ton of turnovers. I think Levy said he thought it was the biggest reason that but Baylor got to this spot, 11-2, Big 12 champs, was the fact that they created turnovers. And this is an Ole Miss team that got to this point by not having a lot of turnovers. It was the big storyline with Matt Corral coming into the season, and he limited his mistakes dramatically, and they don't turn the ball over much. So a lot of times when those kind of things happen, something's got to give, and probably whoever gives in that regard is going to lose the game. Whoever is able to sort of maintain that through the course of tomorrow night will win it.
Neil, has anything, since they announced this game, changed your perspective on how it would go? Or is it pretty much what you thought as soon as they announced it, nothing's changed?
Yeah, nothing's really changed. Ole Miss has had some coaching stuff happen with Jeff Levy going to Oklahoma, but he came back for the prep, and he'll be at the game tomorrow night calling plays. And, Matt Corral played as I expected he would. And, Baylor, I think, you look at a lot of these games, like you look at the game last night, the Peach Bowl, where, the kid for Pittsburgh didn't play and Walker didn't play for Michigan State. You sort of wonder whether those were the real teams that got through the course of the season. I think Baylor's excited to be in New Orleans. I think Ole Miss is super excited to be in New Orleans. So, look, guys, I think outside of the playoff games, this has a chance to be the most entertaining of the big bowl games, certainly, and maybe one of the most entertaining of the bowl games, period. I mean, it's a really fun matchup, and two teams that can score a lot of points and two teams that do a lot of things well, and two teams that are really excited to be there with a lot in their minds to play for.
Neil, Dave Aranda mentioned earlier today that they're not expecting, many, guys missing this game. They're expecting to have pretty much everybody available. I know Ole Miss also didn't have, any opt-outs like Baylor, but health-wise, is Matt Corral, better than he's been the last few times we've seen him as far as health? And how about the rest of the team in terms of the important guys who maybe were question marks that are going to be, in a lot better shape in this game?
Well, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Lane Kiffin's pretty buttoned up when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, what you saw this week is what we've dealt with for 2 years. Yeah. But if you talk to people internally, they'll tell you this is as healthy as they've been. If there are guys that are out, I'm not aware of it. And, Braylon Sanders, the wide receiver who's battled knee injury and shoulder injury pretty much all season, said this is as healthy as he's been. He's noticed guys running around, bouncing around, and I anticipate offensively this is certainly as healthy as they've been probably since the opening game, and defensively they've been pretty healthy all year, and now they've had a month to get pretty healthy. So yeah, I think they're pretty close to 100% going into this game against Baylor.
Do you guys get a lot of sub 5-minute press conferences like we had today with Lane?
Yeah, so here's what's happened, guys. It's really funny. I think we on the beat, and this is, I don't know whether this just speaks to our common sense or maybe we're quitters. You realize after a while that you're not going to get it. And so you can just hammer at it for the sheer sake of hammering at it, or you can just go out of hell with it. And I think we've kind of hit the all to hell with it. Like today, we were 5 minutes in, and I was like typing something else, and I realized, oh my God, is he going to get off without us asking about the whole coordinator thing? And I couldn't hit the raise your hand button faster on Zoom. And then I asked, and you heard the answer. The answer was a nothing answer. It's just Lane does this thing, and this is going to sound like a criticism, and I've been really clear about this for 2 years. There are a handful of coaches who can get away with this, and he's one. And he doesn't need local media, and he can get national media. He can get on the Rich Eisen show. He can get on the Dan Patrick show. Now, look, when you're 8th in the country and you're 10-2, and your only losses were Alabama and Auburn, you can do that. Let them go 7-5, where you're trying to, go to the Music City Bowl, and all of a sudden Rich Eisen might not want you on the show that day. So, I'll say this: those of us on the beat have been like, man, you guys, Aranda gives like these long, thoughtful, sincere answers, and we're like, how does this work? But it's just what Lane does. He has no interest in local media. He doesn't care anything about it. He doesn't feel like he needs it. And to his credit, I guess, he's been really consistent about it. That's kind of what happens throughout the season. Now, we'll have some where if you ask some big picture questions about playoff, expanded playoff, about conference realignment, about things of that nature, you'll get some really long, thoughtful answers. But if you're asking him about, health of his team or what's their COVID status or a specific injury or something, you get nothing.
Yeah, that's interesting about the national perspective. He can get that, but yeah, you're right. You start to have a blip on the radar here and there, man. You might need that support, and not that you're going to be there because you're local to support him. You're going to tell the truth, but that Aranda has become, and it was tough because the first year was COVID. And I think a lot of us had to learn his thesaurus. We had to learn his mind. And
I think he did too.
Yeah,
I think he needed to learn how to deal with the media.
I think it was hard for him and he's mentioned this, he would rather not. It's not so that he would rather not because he's arrogant or distant or aloof. He never had to very much as a coordinator. And now I think he's becoming as comfortable, and you can even almost hear it in his voice how much stronger it is because he's always been a soft-spoken guy. So, yeah, we're pretty fortunate to see him grow in just a year with what he is as a press conference guy.
Well, I don't just say this to say it. I didn't, obviously, I cover the SEC, and so I watched Baylor over the course of the season because I knew they were a really good team, but I didn't pay a ton of intimate attention to Baylor. There was really no reason to. They are as impressive a program from a talking to the kids and the coaches as I've been around in a long time.
I agree. I think, and I think
great
that's
compliment.
I think, I'll pass that along, Neil. By the way, and I think that's kind of the culture of the team and who they've become, and kind of how they've handled this game, whether or not whoever wins the game tomorrow. Do you know any kind of ideas what they're going to do at offensive coordinator? Have you heard much at all on that?
Charlie Weiss.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That's right. The Weiss thing. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just went blank on that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they hired Weiss, and the rumor here, and I don't believe it to be rumor. I believe there's a lot of truth to it. The rumor here is that DJ Durkin, I should say, the defensive coordinator, that he's leaving after the Sugar Bowl. The school that you hear is Texas A&M, where obviously Tim Elko left to go to Duke as the head coach. There's an opening there for Jimbo, and I think Jimbo and DJ share the same agent, and there's some interest there that I think has gone a lot further than the rumor stage. So I think Lane's probably replacing both coordinators in one off season, and that happens when you win, and it ends up being kind of the line of demarcation for a lot of coaches in their ability to maintain. Obviously with Ed Orgeron, when he lost Dave Aranda to Baylor and he lost Brady to the Panthers, he never recovered from that at all. But I don't know. I don't think that'll happen with Lane, but he's got his hands full. And when I think he got turned down a couple of times before he ended up settling on Weiss. And defensively, he's got a decision to make regarding Chris Partridge, who's the co-defensive coordinator, who I can't imagine would want to stay if he got passed over this cycle. So, look, Lane's got a big game tomorrow night, and it's a game that he wants to win for obvious reasons. It'd be the first time in school history that Ole Miss won 11 games. But win or lose against Baylor, literally win or lose within minutes. He's got big things on the agenda, and then there's a quarterback there in New Orleans that his decision is going to impact the way a lot of people feel about the offseason going into the 2023 season. So there's a lot going on beyond just figuring out a way to score against a physical Baylor team and outscore them and win a Sugar Bowl game.
Never heard of that guy in Memphis or any of his family. Never heard of him.
Never, no, not at all. Hey, one thing, Neil, I know that Jeff Lebby was ready for questions about his time at Baylor and how that ended. Paul even asked him about that, and he's mentioned that he's coming back for Corral and to get that 11th win for the first time ever in program history. Have you had any kind of winks or anything like that about what this – we know what it means because of how that ended at Baylor for he and his family.
Come on. You guys know this, and I know this. Everybody knows this. Jeff's never going to say that out loud, obviously. Come on, it's personal. He wants to do well in that game. I'm sure he's motivated to do well in that game. Whether that motivation is justified or not, you guys would know a whole lot more about that than I would. But, anytime that there's anything resembling an acrimonious parting and you get a shot at those people, you have a little extra motivation in the tank. I'm sure that's the case for Jeff. That would be human.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Neil. We'll see you tomorrow night inside the Dome. Appreciate your time.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Neil
Thank
McCready, rebelgrove.com. He's good, real good at what he does in covering Ole Miss football. And, again, it's been a little bit different because of all the press conference media sessions have been virtual instead of in person like they were 2 years ago. So we haven't had a chance to really kind of see too many people. And I miss being inside of the media session, whether it's a coordinator, a head coach, and or the players as well. All right, 17-3 Alabama at halftime. They did pop that long throw at the end of the half, and they have been close to kind of popping that thing open. It's still 17-3, and we'll see what happens in the second half.
All right, now if you want to say ball game, I would be fine with that. At halftime, 17-3 and dominating the way they have. That's fine. After it was 7-0 in one drive, that was silly. But now I think you can say that because Cincinnati just getting manhandled a little bit, and obviously Alabama finally broke the big play there late in the first half to make it 17-3. So it kind of feels like that was perfect timing as far as going in the locker room to kind of get yourself back together. But Desmond Ritter's, man, he just has not played well at all for Cincy. And I know part of that's the Bama defense, but part of it's just he's got to play better.
8 of 17, 59 yards. They have 76 yards of total offense. They have nothing on the ground, and Alabama has 302 yards with that 172, and most of the 130 coming on the drive that started inside their 20 after a muff punt that started actually at about their 5 or 6, and that was a huge back-breaking drive, so 17-3.
They also missed an opportunity for the muff punt. That would have been huge, and that didn't go their way, and then it kind of busted loose after that. So, now I'd say might be in trouble.
Will be interesting to see how that third quarter begins. When we come back, we're going to hear from Dusty Renfrow. He played linebacker in the mid to late 90s with the University of Texas. There's a story about helping save his father's life with a kidney transplant and also a donation, along with he's being honored by the Sugar Bowl, in fact, this week. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Discover Woodway. Right now, 7 hotels that you could always check with if you're coming into Waco, whether it's for Magnolia, the Silos, or any kind of a trip into Waco. Could be for the Baylor men's basketball and women's basketball games coming up, of course, starting with Big 12 play this weekend, tomorrow, with the 2 top 10 teams, unbeaten defending national champion Iowa State, but that game's in Iowa, Ames, but they will be back in town very soon. So if you need a hotel and you can't find one, Woodway has 7 of those for you to choose from. And then coming up in February, a couple of different events, including Father-Daughter Dance on February the 5th, and Wolfway, the dog park grand opening, that's coming up on February the 12th as well. And, of course, the Arboretum is a place where you can do any kind of events, from weddings to big, huge banquets and more. It's discoverwoodway.com.
From the first workout
Last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash for trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Get the quality pre-owned car you need now at a price you can afford at Richard Car. Find great deals like a 7-passenger 2016 GMC Acadia for $225 a month, a 2019 Ford F-150 for $4